So next, in our dynamic startup and investor track, we're about to dive into a transformative area where innovation meets social change. So up next, we have how startup and investor team up to build XR for social change. Join us with GM from Brinc, the China venture partner. He's here to enlighten us on how creative entrepreneurs and investors are collaboratively leveraging XR to tackle global challenges and explore opportunities. Welcome, GM.
Thank you. Hello. Yeah, thanks. If any of your friends are still having an afternoon nap, maybe you can invite them to come in. Sorry, there's no lucky draw. But about a year ago, at the AWE Asia in Shanghai, Ori threw a question to the crowd. So he was challenging us and asking if anyone could solve global and climate problems with XR. That's a pretty tall order, right? So today, we're trying to provide some answers to that. So we're going to talk about how startups and investors team up to build XR for social impact. Social impact is a pretty broad term, right? So before I go on, I'd like to know my audience a little bit. So how many of you are from the startup world, or how many of you represent startups or product companies? Show your hands. Not many? So how many of you are on the fund side? Not fund, but fund, right? Like investment fund. Great. So to reciprocate, the background about myself, for the past 20 years, I've been from the fund and the not-so-fund side, right? In tech ops and venture capital with focus in edtech, XR, TMT, and across various continents, right? So I've been with Niantic, or I was with Niantic for 4 years, and 2 years ago I co-founded the venture arm for Niantic, and now I'm representing Brinc. I'll talk a little more about Brinc afterwards. I'm a venture partner at Brinc, and I'm a strong believer that technology can make our lives better, right? And more so my wife, because she buys like 90% of our stuff online, right? And how many of you have heard of or know about the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? SDG. Not even one, right? Which is why I'm here. In 2015, right, the United Nations General Assembly formulated these 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, it's a very mouthful, right? And these are the goals that can transform our world and make our lives better, starting from no poverty, zero hunger, good health, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitization, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry innovation, reduce inequality, sustainable cities, or smart cities, right? Responsible consumption, right? Very important. Climate action, life below water, life on land, and probably both, right? Peace, justice, strong institutions, and partnerships for all. You're probably now going through your mind what applications there are, what use cases there are, right, for XR to solve these problems, which is good, and that's what I want you to do, right? But it's difficult because there are lots of challenges. It's not that easy, and I'm going to start kicking off with some good examples. DressX is a company I like a lot. It's founded by these two very intelligent Ukrainian ladies, Daria and Anna. Right? I've known them for a while. So if you look carefully, what they're wearing here is not physical dress, right? Not physical. It's superimposed on them. To clarify, this is not AR try-on. AR try-on sells physical clothes. What DressX does is they sell virtual clothing. So for example, there are lots of TikTok influencers, Instagram influencers, YouTubers that don't actually go out to meet their fans, but they do that on camera, right? And these people probably wear a different dress every day. So instead of buying them and throwing them away the next day or finding ways to dispose them, now they can wear superimposed costumes. Let their imagination run wild, and they don't need to think about how to dispose them. So what DressX does is that, and they founded this, the founder said that they're both from the fashion industry, and they realized that 5% of global emission comes from fashion, right? And 92 million tons of clothing waste are produced every year on average. So there is a goal that they want to reduce carbon emission, right, by X%, 1.6%. It's not a lot, but it's still significant. Reduce water consumption, right? And hopefully replace that small little bit of traditional fashion industry. And all this is measurable. It's not just fluff, right? So according to DressX's sustainability report, right, digital garment production emits 97% less carbon dioxide than physical garment, right? That's equal to fully charging 40 million phones. And on average, they save 3,000 liters of water, right? Which is also pretty significant. This is an example of a joint campaign they did with American Eagle. And within a week, they managed to save 481 tons of carbon emission, and then 86 million gallons of water as well, just within a week. And you're probably wondering, well, do people really buy or wear these virtual clothes? And according to research, you'd be surprised, right? Within the 2 years after they launched this, more than half people actually tried it. Right? This is the American market, by the way, right? And 13% of the people actually agreed that once after they started trying out these digital garments, they actually do not need to buy as many physical garments. And that's mainly those influencers that we talk about, right? And do people really buy them? I mean, my kids tried this app. They loved it, right? We didn't buy it. They tried different costumes. But the fact is that they're not really that cheap. You look at that, right? Each piece costs between 10 to 100 US, and people do buy them. So I think DressX is a very good demonstration on how we can solve these UN SDGs with digital fashion, right? So it saves water, right? It demonstrates practical use of AR technology, right? And because they allow people to mint some of these digital fashion, right? So there's Web3 demonstration as well. Responsible consumption, very important. We always say, one life, 100 things. I probably have 102, but, right? And climate, here you go, Ori, this is the answer, right? So there are people that succeed at doing that. So if we can displace that small bit of requirement for physical garment through an example like this, I think it's very good. But 1.5 years ago, Daria came to me. They were trying to raise 2 million. And I told them, I said, you should try and raise more. And they managed to raise 15 million earlier this year. And I'm very happy for them. So 4 down, 13 more to go, right? Zeta Surgical is a portfolio of Brinc, right? They use augmented reality for surgical operation or surgical navigation, actually. Right? So Jose and Rahil, the two founders, they want to democratize the access, right, to accurate and safe image guidance for outpatient surgery. What does it mean? Imagine someone that has fluid and pressure in the brains, right? It's urgent, right? And they need to operate on them. It's so urgent, right? Usually doctors do that on the bedside and freehand. But the patient is moving, right? He's alive. So how do you track it? So in the past, it's been difficult. But with this image guidance, what they managed to do is they managed to get the accuracy to 0.88 millimeters, right? And it beats the gold standard of 1 millimeter. And these guys raised about 5.6 million about a year ago, right? It's a very good demonstration on how XR can help. Similarly, Augmetics, they also use see-through AR surgery to help this surgery on the spine, right? So it aligns the hands and eyes of the surgeon. So instead of the surgeon having to look up at the screen and down at the patient, up at the screen and down at the patient, right? It frees that from them, right? And decreases radiation exposure from the traditional fluoroscopy-based procedures as well. And 99.1%, when I first looked at that, I thought, well, does that mean that there's 0.9% failure? But if you understand the market, anything more than 90%, 95% is super. So they're actually saving more lives, right? Augmetics, if I'm not wrong, they've been now branded as Soonicorn. So soon to be unicorn, and they raised like 36 million about a year ago as well. Trip, this is one of our first investments at Niantic Ventures, like Nanea. After she lost her husband and her sister, she found that she could find peace through meditation. And then she managed to combine that with her expertise, her experience with games. So she developed this Trip, which allows people to meditate in whatever environment they want to set, right, through VR, right? And they have 10 million users on the Oculus. I think that's probably as many sets they sell on for Oculus, right? And after working with Niantic, they actually are now expanding from VR to AR. And it's scientifically proven that meditation through VR actually helps and improves the efficacy as well, right? And so this is healthcare in terms of mental healthcare, right? They managed to raise 11 million about a year ago in a round which Niantic participated in. So that's healthcare. Oh, one more, or two more. Iris vision as well, very interesting. 248 million people in the world are visually impaired, not fully blind. 49 million are blind, right? And so iris vision actually helps the low vision people to see, or to read newspapers and watch TV and see the people interviews of users that could actually now see their kids play football on the field, right? And they help patients do that. Patients with as low as only 3% vision remaining, right? And I think one of my friends, Nick, actually has that problem. And whenever we're having hot pot, he'll be stirring his chopsticks and how about trying to pick whatever he can find. So if he had this, and he wouldn't have that problem. And they managed to raise, I think, 12 million as well, about 2 years ago. And Illumi wasn't that lucky, right? I really like what they're doing as well. They use LiDAR scanning to alert and warn the users. They hang on the phone on the chest. So when they're walking, it can alert them and tell them what obstacles there are within the vicinity. It's instant. It's very powerful. But unfortunately, they haven't been able to get funding yet. So these are good examples of how XR can help with healthcare, right? We all know that education has a lot of potential as well. This came from an Indian founder. So 3 out of 4 students, youth worldwide, right, do not have access to practical labs and physical labs, right, for education. So instead of then bringing the students to the labs, what they do is they bring the labs to the students through AR. So this classroom actually is Omkar, the founder's old school, right? This was his teacher. And this is not a physical model. This is AR. It's pretty impressive. I actually, the first time I saw it, I thought it was a physical model. So with this, they actually managed to allow students in remote schools, like, that do not have access to labs to be able to try all these different kinds of scientific experiments, which I think is really meaningful. Assembler, I was talking to another friend yesterday. This is an Indonesian startup, right? What they do is they compare themselves to the Canva, but the fact is that 60% of their users are teachers. So they're actually a tool that allows the layman to create AR objects and AR experience. So a lot of teachers in Indonesia are actually using that. They have like 2.3 million downloads. It's pretty impressive. So I think they're raising around now as well. So enough of these examples, right? There are a lot more I think you can find, or you probably know, right? But it's not been easy with trying to solve, we say, these global problems with XR. And when you ask these founders, the biggest problem, or biggest challenge that always face is adoption. And adoption comes from these aspects, user experience. And I think so far, we haven't really found a device that is really comfortable for anyone that can wear for long periods of time, right? Cost. If the schools in remote India cannot afford a science lab, you have to find a creative way to reduce the cost for them. And unfortunately, Miracle had been able to do that like at 10% cost, right? So through mobile and not needing a head-mounted device, they can do that with mobile, right? And content as well, right? Content is expensive to create, but now with AI, generative AI, we hope that's easier, right? And very importantly, it has to make business sense, right? So we often say that founders, right, start a company for 3 reasons, right? To make money, to make the world better, and to have fun. But the truth is, there's no fun without money. So you have to be able to make money. And if we look at the market, the irony is that more than half, you look at the green part, right, of the market, the money comes from video games, live events, and video entertainment, right? And the blue side, healthcare, fortunately, and engineering are getting some of that. But education is only getting a pathetic 0.7 billion out of all the sectors, right? And yet, if we look at what the potential of immersive technology can do to these sectors, healthcare and education top the list, right? Yes, workforce development as well, manufacturing, but I think what we want to see is more involvement from both entrepreneurs and investors in this sector. And so how do we pick the sweet spots? So this is, to all the other investors, you can disagree. This is JM's own hypothesis, right? So I try to plot them against like impact against monetization potential. If you look at top left, you have no poverty. The yellow ones are the 17 SDGs, right? And poverty, it's very important, but it's probably difficult to make business sense, right? And on the bottom right, we have entertainment and gaming, which brings in the cash, but it's a stretch to say that they are making our lives much better. So I try to create a cross-section on the top right, right? And what we see is the big 4, healthcare, manufacturing, retail, and education. And I said before, I'd love to see more startups, more founders, and more investors, right? Trying to work together to create more value in these 4 sectors. And so we've seen these 17 goals. So far, the examples that we quoted, we could say that we could contribute to 7 of them, right? I'm sure many of you probably have more ideas now in your head how you can work to contribute and resolve the other challenges, right? I don't know whether we can solve all of them, but what we are doing at Brinc, Brinc is an early stage VC and startup accelerator program out of Hong Kong. So what we believe is, we believe there are entrepreneurs out there that are solving global problems through technology, right? We call them game changers, and we want to back them. And there is no conflict with financial returns, because Brinc has been able to do that, both realizing financial returns and doing something for good, right? And as you could see from the examples I quoted, right? If you're doing the right thing with the right product and the right business case, you can actually get funding, right? And you can do something for good as well. So I hope if any of you think that you have a solution that can resolve or contribute or help with one of the global challenges that we have today, or if you're an investor and LP with cash that you want to work with us together to back these entrepreneurs, by all means, feel free to contact me. Thank you.